The Shurangama Sutra. Moreover, Ananda, as you understand it, the tongue and the flavors create the conditions that produce the tongue consciousness. Is this consciousness produced because of the tongue, so that the tongue is the realm, or is it produced because of the flavors, so that the flavors are its realm? Ananda, if it were produced because of the tongue, then all the sugarcane, black plums, huanglian, salt, xixing, ginger, and cassia in the world would be entirely without flavor. Also, when you tasted your own tongue, would it be sweet or bitter? If your tongue's natural flavor were bitter, then what would taste the tongue? Since the tongue cannot taste itself, who would have the sense of taste? If the natural flavor of the tongue was not bitter, then it could not engender tastes. How then could a realm be established? If the tongue consciousness were produced because of flavor, the consciousness itself would be a flavor. Then the case would be the same as with the tongue organ being unable to taste itself. How could the consciousness know whether it had flavor or not? However, the many flavors do not all come from one thing. Since flavors are produced from many things, the consciousness would have many substances. If the consciousness were a single substance, and that substance was definitely produced from flavor, then when salt, bland, sweet, and pungent flavors were combined, their various differences would change into a single flavor, and there would be no distinctions among them. If there were no distinctions, it could not be called consciousness. So how could it further be called the realm of tongue, flavor, and consciousness? Nor could empty space produce your conscious awareness. The tongue and flavors could not combine without each losing its basic nature. How then could a realm be produced? From this you should understand that as to the tongue and flavors being the conditions that produce the realm of tongue consciousness, none of the three places exists. Fundamentally, the natures of the tongue, flavors, and the realm of the tongue consciousness, these three, cannot be attributed to either causes and conditions or spontaneity. Moreover, Ananda, as you understand it, the body and objects of touch create the conditions that produce the body consciousness. Is this consciousness produced because of the body, such that the body is its realm, or is it produced because of objects of touch, such that objects of touch are its realm? Ananda, if it were produced because of the body alone cannot generate the awareness of contact or separation. What would the body be conscious of? If it were produced because of objects of touch, then your body should not be necessary. But who can perceive contact with something other than the body? Ananda, things do not perceive objects of touch. The body does. What the body knows is objects of touch, and what is aware of objects of touch is the body. Objects of touch are not the body, and the body is not objects of touch. The two entities of body and objects of touch basically have no location. If it were the body consciousness that came in contact with the body, then it would be the body's own substance and nature. If the body consciousness were separate from the body, then it would be like empty space. Since the internal and external aspects can't be established, how can something be set up between them? Since no such middle can be set up, the internal and external aspects are by nature empty. From what then would your consciousness be produced? From this you should understand that as to the body and objects of touch being the conditions that produce the realm of body consciousness, none of the three places exists. Fundamentally, the body, objects of touch, and the realm of body consciousness, these three, cannot be attributed to either causes and conditions or spontaneity. Moreover, Ananda, as you understand it, the mind and dharmas create the conditions that produce the mind consciousness. Is this consciousness produced because of the mind, such that the mind is its realm, or is it produced because of dharmas, such that dharmas are its realm? Ananda, if it were produced because of the mind, in your mind there certainly must be thoughts that give expression to your mind. If there were no dharmas before you, the mind would not give rise to anything. Apart from conditions, it would have no shape. Thus, of what use would the consciousness be? Moreover, is your mind consciousness the same as your mind organ with its thought processes and discriminations, or is it different? If it were the same as the mind, then it would be the mind. How could it be something produced from it? If it were different from the mind, it shouldn't have any consciousness. If it didn't have any consciousness, how could it be produced from the mind? If it did have consciousness, how could the mind be conscious of itself? Since it is, by nature, neither the same nor different, how can a realm be established? If it were produced because of dharmas, none of the mundane dharmas exist apart from the 5 defiling objects. Consider the dharmas of form, sound, smell, taste, and of touch. Each has a clearly distinguishable appearance and is matched with one of the 5 organs. They are not what the mind takes in. If your consciousness were indeed produced through a reliance on dharmas, then take a look at them now. What does each and every dharma look like? Apart from the attributes of form and emptiness, motion and stillness, penetration and obstruction, unity and separation, and arising and ceasing, there is nothing at all. When there is arising, then form, emptiness, and all dharmas arise. When there is ceasing, then form, emptiness, and all dharmas cease to be. Since the objective causes do not exist, then what does the consciousness which those causes produce look like? If there is nothing discernible about the consciousness, how can a realm be established for it? From this you should understand that as to the mind and dharmas being the conditions that produce the realm of mind consciousness, none of the 3 places exists. Fundamentally, the mind, dharmas, and the realm of the mind consciousness, these 3, cannot be attributed to either causes and conditions or spontaneity. Ananda said to the Buddha, "Bhagavan, in discussing the dharmas of mixing and uniting and of causes and conditions, the Tathagata has often said that the transformations of all mundane phenomena can be discovered in the mixing and uniting of the 4 elements. Why does the Tathagata now reject causes and conditions and spontaneity as well?" I do not know what your meaning pertains to. Please be so compassionate as to instruct us beings in dharmas that adhere to the complete meaning of the middle way, and are not philosophical speculations. At that time, the Bhagavan said to Ananda, "You have already renounced the small vehicle dharmas of the hearers and those enlightened to conditions, and have resolved diligently to seek unsurpassed Bodhi. Because of that, I will now explain the complete meaning of the middle way to you. Why do you still bind yourself up in mundane philosophical speculations and false thoughts about causes and conditions? Although you are very learned, you are like someone who can discuss medicines, but cannot recognize a real medicine when it is placed before you. The Tathagata says that you are truly pitiable. Listen attentively now as I explain this point in detail, to enable you and those of the future who cultivate the Mahayana great vehicle to penetrate to the ultimate reality. Ananda was silent and awaited the Buddha's sagely instruction. Ananda, according to what you say, The mixing and uniting of the four elements can be discovered in the myriad transformations of all mundane phenomena. Ananda, if the natures of those elements did not mix and unite, then they could not combine with other elements, just as empty space cannot combine with forms. If the natures of those elements do mix and unite, they are themselves transformations in a never-ending process of bringing each other into being. The continuation of comings into being and ceasings to be, of births and deaths, of deaths and births, is like the unbroken wheel of flame that appears when a torch is spun in a circle. Ananda, the process is like water becoming ice, and ice turning into water again.